Sorry, I am barely coming back from work. Apenas ando regresando de trabajo. And I am late. Look at me. Do change, other things not so much. Can y'all hear me? ¿Me pueden escuchar? Well, I think it's only one person right now. Could be just me. But anyway, it's been a minute. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. I've been out of town. It's been a minute. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. I've been out of town. Sorry about that. Okay. How do we start this thing? We say la paz del Señor, right? Que la paz de Dios y la gracia. It's funny. Está chistosa la cosa que cuando yo empecé a hacer estas remedadas, when I started doing this, when I was in church, it was funny, it was great, pero ya saliendo ya es otra cosa, pues uno lo ve, la gente le gustaba, la gente, pero los de la iglesia, cuando yo estaba en la iglesia, pero ya uno saliendo lo ven como algo, pues, ¿qué sería la palabra? Como, pues, blasfemia, pero ni modo, no sabe la intención. I don't think they recognize the intention behind it, because the intention for me is, I'm not making fun of Jesus. I'm making fun of the people really that manipulate and use this for that purpose, that disgusting purpose. That's the reason why I do what I did. I don't need to explain myself, but I do like to explain myself every now and then. And that's like one that I always been thinking. Pues, está raro como hay lo ven una manera. Cada quien tiene su manera de ver. Y sometimes when they hear other people, they see it only that way, even though it's explained to them differently. But they're like, no, it's this because that's how I think. But people are people, right? So cults, choir, community. It's one of those things that I think I've been pondering a lot. I've been pondering on a lot of things about digesting my past. Vamos a hablar del coro, sectas y comunidad. Y suena mejor en inglés because you got the triple C's. The very distant cousin of KKK. But comunidad, coro, sectas, choir, cult, community. I want to start with choir. Quiero empezar con el coro. Fue lo más bonito. Que it's still the most memorable thing I have to this date about my time in LDM. And one of the mistakes I made when I left this cult was thinking that everything I did was linked to the election. Uno de los errores que yo cometí cuando salí, en mi opinión, de esta secta de la luz del mundo fue pensar que todo lo que yo hacía fue ligado a la elección. En otras palabras, que lo que yo hacía fue precisamente solamente look at me, fue con el propósito de pensar de que todo viene de la elección y no viene de mí, pero las cosas que yo antes hacía en la iglesia no fue a las fuerzas. Y es algo que, bueno, ellos predican y a cierto punto tienen razón, pero yo hablo de mi experiencia, entonces de eso yo quiero hablar. Pues yo pienso que hablando de mi experiencia, en una manera u otra, hay gente que también pueden relatar. Y'all can probably relate, right? Some things, not everything. I think there are different levels. I do believe there are different levels of faith. Let's use that as a measure of rule. Creo que podemos usar como fe como una manera de medir la manera que creíamos en ese tiempo. Maybe some of you who still believe. There's like a measuring, and faith was that one way, right? So going back to what I was saying with thinking that everything I did was related to the election, it's not. It was, y el coro fue una de esas cosas. I want to say hi. Saludos. Hello, hello, hello. Um, el coro para mí nació pues del corazón. And then I used that for um, my belief in the election. Y ya de ahí pues ese pues no empezó con un talento, les puedo decir. Empezó pues me gustó. Y ya de ahí pues continuó como un disque talento don, right? Um, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Y el coro fue una de esas cosas, el cantar. Otras cosas que yo hacía también fue porque I would try it, lo quería intentar por lo menos. Y ya de ahí, pues, si me gustó, pues I would continue. And if not, then I stopped and I went back to the things that I think I found more pleasant. Y las cosas que siempre lo que me gustó más fue el coro, de todas las cosas. Y pues de ahí, pues empecé nomás a cantar el coro de los niños, choir with kids, the youth, when I got to that age. I never wanted to be a choir director. Never wanted to be an assistant director. First, because I was young at the time, before all this started happening. Una de las cosas que nunca tenía en mente de ser un director del coro, ni asistente. Uh, yo no simplemente quería cantar. And I enjoyed being in choir. Me encantó mucho cantar. And that's why I kind of developed that desire. I wouldn't even say a skill because I didn't think I had it. It was just something I worked on my own, uh, both in church and in school. Fue entre la escuela, tanto como la escuela, practicar pues la música, tocar un instrumento, la voz, ir a clases de voz y la iglesia también, pues it's practice, it's práctica. So I don't, you learn regardless. You're learning all this stuff, right? Uh, a los que están entrando, les bendigo con el ósculo santo. God, I do every now and then miss doing that. It's fun. It's fun just like let me play this character because that's what it was, right? A lot of them. Not everybody, no todos hacían con esa intención de burlarse de las personas, pero había gente que sí lo hacía con esa sinceridad, right? Um, Yendo para atrás ahora el coro. So the choir, we just get to it. I loved it and I continued on to it. Ya cuando me salí, pues pensé que era algo que no era my own thing. I didn't think it was my own thing. No pensé que era lo mío. Lo pensé que pues fue ligado a la elección. It was just linked to the election. But I slowly, in time, I went back to it. Went back to college and I had that choir. I had a solo. I didn't think I would have that. Um, but it was something that I always had in me because of the practice and devotion I put. And that's the good and bad with LDM. Una de las buenas cosas que yo puedo decir que agarré práctica fue a través de estar en la luz del mundo. Fue un medio. I think I could say that a bubble where I can practice that. That at the time I didn't see it, but now here I am, 2024. Outside of it, I'm like, oh, okay. There's different networks of bubbles, community, and choir was a big one. In church, in LDM, I met a lot of people through choir, so much within the state as well as outside of it in the different country. Um, I made a lot of great friendships, relationships through it. It's a community within a community. So, and that's what cults are too, at that extent, right? It's a big community with a lot of little communities. Así como sectas como la Luz del Mundo es una comunidad grande con diferentes comunidades pequeñas que uno puede uh, in- uh, integrarse si uno quiere. Le gusta la música, predicar. Creo que últimamente ha crecido un poco esas comunidades. Ha multiplicado, podemos decir, esas comunidades. And that's normal. That's bound to happen when you're in a community of people, right? Um, and 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 LDM did that. One of the I'd like to talk about this, but I think the biggest sin that LDM ever committed was changing the story of Jesus, making him, um, with time. played second fiddle to the election to Nason, the end of Samuel and all of Nason. Creo que uno de los grandes errores, el más grande pecado que, en mi opinión, que la luz del mundo cometió fue cambiar la imagen de Cristo, la historia de Cristo, y ponerle la cara de la elección. En los últimos años de Samuel se vio mucho ese fanatismo y el tiempo de Nazón. I speak story, specifically story, because he came in with, there's a Latin phrase called, and it's a plot device that they use, machina deux machina, I want to say. And the premise is, well, the definition is an unstoppable force comes and saves an impossible situation instead of letting the character develop and allow the journey of life to help him pay through. It was like an instant, oh, I have this, I can rely on this. We already have that. We already have Jesus. That's something why I'm slowly turning back into Christianity. Why I think I am trying to find a community, really. And this is where I want to make the distinction between the things that I used to say were because of the election. I go back and I'm like, no, these were things I did that came straight out of my heart. Choir was the biggest one. Serving the people. I by the end, I go back and I think about the people that I helped out, or the things I did within the community, right? Because it wasn't just mainly choir. Every now and then I liked helping on the kitchen because food is life. Food is life. And I was like, especially when they served ministers, I was like, sign me up. Because you have to serve, you have to be there early, you got to get everything ready. Every now and then you might have to help the kitchen folk, sisters. And if any of you are watching or going to watch, a las hermanas que me cocinaron comida en mi tiempo cuando estaba en la luz del mundo, saludos, Dios les pague. I mean that. I still remember a lot of the things y'all did for me. And I know to this day, my mom talks to me and we talk about how some of them still remember me in good heart, in good light. And I appreciate that a lot. I really appreciate that. I didn't, it means a lot to me. I didn't think they'll, because of the videos I make, and I don't think I talk trash about church, LDM, more speaking of my experience. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad, I think. And the great was the food that the sisters would make. So, I would serve when I had the chance, so that at the end of it, because the ministers, they made really good food for ministers, I would get some of the food. So, a las hermanas, Dios les pague. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. God bless. God bless you, mothers. So the things I did, everything, there was it came authentically from me. Every now and then I would do things I was like, I don't want to do this. I have to, you got to do it. But there were other things that it was just easier, or I found more fun. And it wasn't because it was because of the election. I'm like, it's because of me. And that's why I went back to school. I went back, I am, because I travel a lot now here in Florida. At the moment, it's gotten harder for me to try and get into community or be involved in a community. But, I went back, joined a local choir, actually went back to my college to join their alumni choir, their community choir. So that's pretty dope. That was pretty fun. What I'm trying to say is the things that I used to think were because of the election aren't really the election. I still find a lot of fun, and that's a connection that you can have for the people that feel a little lost, because we all feel a little lost, right? It's you escaped the reality, because to an extent it is a reality. You left a community, and now you feel like, for me, I have to speak on my behalf. It's easier for me to speak on my behalf. So I left LDM. Here's my thought process. Dejé la luz del mundo, y pensé que las cosas que yo hice fue todo un tiempo perdido. Thought it was a loss of time. So, and it all started, but I know the cracks of my reality fractured, what was it, December 14th, 2014, when all that llamamiento happened. That's when it shattered, and questions had to come. So I know that's where my personal downfall, because then that's when excuses started to come in rather than a lack of accountability, which is what I'm trying to do now. This is where I'm at right now, my journey. But I'll look back and I think about where it started, and that was like one big root for me. And it was a moment of hopelessness. I think we all have gone through it. We are going through it. Some might will continue going through it. I think that's part of life. I turned 30 last year and I realized it's a cycle. Oh, here's a cycle. It's like this. But um, I thought it was just like, well, what's the point, right? Uh, but I've circled back now. Everything's like, I feel like sometimes the answer was like right there, and I did this. I'm right here, and here's the answer. But I circled. I did a 359. So by the time I got 360, it's like it was there all along. And that goes with my personal guidance back to God, to Jesus, probably Christianity, to choir, to all the things, because I found a lot of joy doing all that. It was a great having responsibilities was amazing. Having the responsibilities, not because it was given. I think it was because I avoided it. I didn't want to be choir director. Fuck that. I was 17 when I became I think assistant director, suplente, and then assistant. Gotta make that distinction. Um, because I loved it and I was willing to learn different parts. I'm like, well, from the back of my bench, I can help out the segundas, I can help out the basses, maybe the tenors. Not really. I can't sing that fucking high. It's just it was always different. Tenors were different. Sopranos had the melody. Segundas had the would carry the just be a little lower. The basses for the foundation. I grew up with that, and the tenors had their own little thing, little little divas out there. There is truth to those stereotypes. And sopranos, some of y'all too. But I've circled back and I'm like, okay, we're going back to the roots that you enjoyed. And I had a conversation with a friend, um, and he talked about how this is a while back ago, because he's still in church, but and doesn't really care for the election like that. And he was telling me how his dad's like, there's a lot of, I'll break it down. He essentially said that his dad knows it's fake, but there's a lot of good here, and I want to help out the good. Um, so that spoke a lot to me. Now, would I return back to church, LLDM? Absolutely fucking not. The only way I would ever return back would be if they changed the election, put it back to what's supposed to be, what makes sense. And I know this is a conversation maybe a lot of people might not like to hear. Those that have been agnostic, atheist, because that's I know I walk those shoes. Atheist for a very short time. I was like, nah, this. I just went from one end to the other. Agnostic for the longest, and then um, it's circling back to the story of Jesus, right? And taking away the father figure like that and replacing it with someone else who calls himself a father but doesn't do any of that and just reaps the rewards was like, nah. But if you change that, LDM, sure, I would go back. I would take prayers. I would help out because that was the most fun I ever had. That came out straight from my heart, was helping out choir, getting ready to take prayer. These are all nice little real world skills that have actually helped me out and are currently helping me at this very moment. Up to this very moment, not just this very moment, up to this moment. But it was out of my will, out of my own will, that I was able to I had a little brain fart. It was out of my own will. Because I had a brain fart because I wanted to speak to y'all now. I've been mumbling, jumbling. I think there should be an organization. Do y'all have any questions? There's like 7 people right now. Don't worry, ofrendas won't be to the end. I won't ask for ofrendas now. We'll keep it like that. Just ofrendas until the very end. We'll do it. I like the LDM style. They feed. Here's the word of God. Here's songs. Here's work, and give me money at the end. All right, cool. Uh, Thanks for sharing a part of your life. Hola, qué bueno verte. Saludos. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't mind. I know it's hard for some people. I did this because I felt a part of me. There was like a part of me telling me something in the future is going to probably want you to go back to church. Do this now. Because I recognized a pattern with cults when I was studying it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I realized I'm weak. I didn't know how weak, but I was like, I think I'm weak enough to probably go back. And the feelings have been there. Have y'all had that? Y'all have had those feelings before? I know they're gone now. They're gone now. I think back about it. I think about like August. We're in August, right? 14, La Santa Cena. I didn't really think about it, but I got me in the mood of listening to alabanzas the Holy Supper, the Santa Cena. I still listen. Uh, I don't think there's anything bad at all. I still listen to cantos. My favorite album would be Benjamin Cruz's album. To this day, for some reason, even back then, it didn't have any, and it weirded me out because it didn't have any election songs. I think it's called Donde el Cielo. I like this voice because that's what I was trained for towards that kind of tone. But the songs in it were just de esperanza de dormir, like what awaits after we die. And that always called me since I was a kid. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm working for. That was what felt my purpose. So that's why I was so involved in church because I'm like, I don't care about what's going to happen here. I'm gonna have a big fucking mansion up in heaven. That was my mindset. So work for church here so that when I die, I wake up and I'm like, oh, here's this fucking mansion with like 20 acres and a beach and all that. Spiritually speaking, obviously that's the best. I can't fucking. Um, Obviously that's not the case. But I'm trying to make y'all imagine. That's like the best way, or the brain capacity, right? To imagine something that we have never, you know, been to, per se. Solo te dejo like porque no sé inglés. I'm so sorry. I've been trying to. Tengo que hablar en español también. Hola Maya, saludos. Ah, Dije que iba a hablar en español y todo en inglés porque se me hace más fácil hablar en inglés. Pero gracias por tu like. He hablado acerca de, pues, de las comunidades dentro de la comunidad de la luz del mundo son diferentes comunidades y lo que más me atrayó fue el coro, la música. Pero por un buen tiempo, después de que me salí de la luz del mundo, pensé que todo lo que yo hice antes fue en vano. Fue en vano porque vino de parte de la elección. Pero ya con tiempo y con mi propia manera de investigarme y hacerme esas preguntas y contestar con esa honestidad, ah, realicé y ando realizando que no fue por la elección, fueron cosas que salieron de mí y lo usé en ese tiempo, el propósito de la elección, de servir algo mayor que yo, que fue en ese tiempo la elección, que fue cambiando de Dios y Cristo a un hombre que se decía ser apóstol de Jesucristo. Y por eso dejé todo eso, cambié mi forma de pensar. Dije, no, pues nada es lo que antes pensé fue pura mentira, entonces nada tiene valor, no hay, nada tiene sentir, no hay propósito. Pero ya con el tiempo, pues, God knows how I made it here, pero ahora creo que puedo decir, no, pues fue Dios que aún me tiene aquí con vida. Ya tengo la oportunidad de nuevamente hacer las cosas que antes hacía sin nomás simplemente hacer las cosas que antes me gustaba. Y la música fue una de esas cosas, el cantar. Y ahora pues, ahorita no he tenido esa oportunidad de estar en el coro. Tuve la oportunidad en enero hasta en mayo, cuando me integré al coro de la universidad nuevamente, pero hay un coro de la comunidad de la universidad. No son estudiantes, son los que son los que viven cerca de la universidad. Y pues como no vivo tan cerca, pero sí tengo la oportunidad de ir para allá porque de allá me gradué y conozco la gente allá. Pues he poco a poco integrado las cosas que me gusta y a reunirme a una comunidad como un coro, porque como humanos tenemos que, yo pienso, tener una comunidad para, pues, para ser humanos. Hay que hablar con otros ser humanos, y tanto con gente que quizás no tenemos la misma opinión, como la gente que queremos hacer cosas que nos interesa, como el coro, cantar, música. Entonces, son cosas que ahorita yo ando, ah, nuevamente ando haciendo esas cosas, queriendo involucrarme. Y el coro fue lo más importante. Y aún en este día, ah, nunca he parado de hacer mis calentamientos. Sigo haciendo calentamientos casi todos los días, practicando nomás porque ahora tengo esa. Siempre he tenido ese deseo. Siempre me ha gustado cantar, aunque no sea el mejor, aunque I wish I had a good ear so I can hear a song. I was always jealous of people that could sing, and hit segunda immediately, do harmonize immediately. I'm like, I need notes, or I gotta practice this like 20 times because I learned retardedly slow. That's the only way I learn. I'm like, I gotta do it again and again and again and again and again. And I'm like, okay, now I can pick it up and put it together. Fortunately, that's how my brain works. Or I can look at notes and I'm like, got it. Ah, Andaba hablando en español. Entonces, integrando nuevamente a las cosas que antes me gustaba, como el coro, y ahora pues, am, también a la vez regresando porque a veces yo he visto cómo está rara la vida a veces, pero a veces quiero ver la solución de un problema, y resulta que a veces la solución fue nomás volteándome un poco en vez de hacer un 360 y llegar casi al mismo lugar. Y una de esas cosas pues es nuevamente integrarme a una iglesia, que sería pues una iglesia quizás cristiana, porque reconozco que por el momento pues como yo nací, como crecí con mis papás de una manera, y fue algo que um, creo que estoy viendo que hay algo muy fundamental en tener una comunidad, y en esa comunidad tener pues Dios. Y por eso pienso que el más grande error, el más grande pecado que la luz del mundo ha cometido fue cambiar la imagen de Dios, de Cristo, de la crucifixión, a Samuel en sus últimos años, a Nazón al principio, bueno, todo su tiempo. Y, y es algo que ahora ando viendo, y yo pienso que no, pues tanto las cosas que yo hice quizás hice con la intención de alegrar al siervo de Dios, como antes decíamos, para causarle una sonrisa, y ahora nuevamente hacer las cosas que antes me gustaba, y hacerlo poco a poco. Y en eso pues es buscar una comunidad, porque pues un día me gustaría pues, ya si Dios quiere, am, ya si Dios quiere, pues es una frase común en el mundo, pero también a la luz del mundo. Ah, Dios le pague es otra más que viene de la luz del mundo. Pero si Dios quiere también, pues viendo en el futuro, es pues que casarme, tener novia. Gotta get a girlfriend first. That all comes with time. Get married, have kids, da da da, create the legacy. Continue the legacy, really, from my parents. From my dad, my mom, I gotten closer to them and realizing their story. What's their story? What's my dad's story? What's my mom's story? And, and stepping into that role, I'm like, all right, there's a role to play. And responsibilities. There are responsibilities. From responsibilities, there's you start adding to it, and it just feels more purposeful. It feels nice. It's like, oh, it was almost the same thing with LDM. It's the same thing. It's an imitation of how the world works in a way. Just that you just have to change the image of the election and back to Jesus, to God, or Buddha. I think there's more than one way to reach there. Definitely not that many, I think, because there's only certain ways you can build a house right. Having the strongest foundation, having the correct way to do things. There could be many ways, but you know, how many ways can you, when you think about something like a foundation, carpentry is like one big thing, getting into that, stepping into a role like that, like I said. Um, so I think that's why quotes are very attractive. That's why they're very attractive because it imitates what it's a dystopia, but dystopia, utopia. God, I get those names all mixed up. Uh, God, I wish I had like a Bible or a book, a Bible right now, so I can be like, can anyone read me this? I see como en el tiempo de back then, be like, oh yeah, para la honra y gloria del Señor, do like an esgrima kind of situation. But I'll take a break from my talking. I want to get back to y'all. Any of y'all have any questions for me? Any thoughts? I think one of the things that maybe this is a community in a way. Is it? Is this like a community? It's an online community, I guess. I don't talk to y'all a lot because I'm working a lot. Fortunately, I am fortunate. It's not even unfortunate. I see I have finally come back to changing my perspective. It's taken a while because that dip from leaving church, it became nihilistic. I saw everything almost very negative, the worst. And I finally, I'm like, whew, we're breathing now. Now I'm seeing the bright things in life again. It's all about perception and opportunity and playing into that role, like I said again. And it's gotten me now like, okay, things are starting to come together. I'm like, holy, taking on responsibility, putting on all this stuff. I'm like, let's try this out. Let's really try this out. I think there's success in this because you hear stories and it's like, oh, there really is. So let me step into it. And you start seeing these things, and it's like a domino effect. You start affecting the people around. You trying to help others when you're that kind of responsible, when they kind of start relying on you. And it's why I go back. It's similar with cults. It's like LDM was like right there, but you had the wrong face. That's just my opinion. That's why I'm going back to it. A ver. Saludos desde Texas. I was just there in Texas. Saludos. I was in Houston. I was for work, Webster, really. But it's like south side of Houston, close to League City. Oh, God, I fell in love with Texas. I fell in love with Texas all over again. I've been there a couple times. I've been there several times. Uh, Several cities. San Antonio, Austin a lot. Houston a couple times, Dallas, and then passed through it when I was a kid a lot. I would used to go to Guadalajara and back and forth with my family. That was nice. So I went back now as a 30-year-old in Texas, and I loved it. The people. So saludos. I know there are a lot of brothers. I passed through the church, the main church in Houston Central. Ahí pasé por Texas. Ahí andaba trabajando por 6 semanas. I was there till like August, early August, like right before Holy Supper. And I loved it, me enamoré de allá. Entonces, saludos ahí. Tuve la oportunidad, la bendición de ver la iglesia de Central. Y'all call that Central, right? I only stepped in that church once. Nunca tuve esa bendición nuevamente de entrar a ese templo. But I did get to see it. So that was cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's that one place. That's that church I used to go to. Uh, I'm in Houston, Texas. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Texas is amazing. I love the food. The food. I'm an amateur foodie. I think that's the best way to describe it. I just love food. And one of the amazing things about traveling is trying out different food. And Texas is, y'all got it. Y'all got HEB. Y'all are goaded. I defend my Publix because I'm from the South. I'm from Georgia, so it's like, it's like my thing is Publix, but HEB. Uh, I hate to admit, but I will admit, I got it. Yes, that's the Central. Okay, that is Central. Cool. Houston. So I was there. Saludos. Uh, Saludos desde Florida. Anyone from Florida? I am currently in Naples. God, I'm giving y'all. Well, it's only four people. It's not like anyone's gonna stalk me. But I'm here in Florida, and good lord, it's hotter than Texas. It's just humid. More, it doesn't stop. Uh, Gotta find a church here too. Gotta find LDM back here. Uh, any other you got questions? You got comments? You got? I want to talk to this community. This is, I guess, our community. These three, donde hay dos o tres congregados, uh, there is the Spirit of God. And this is a community. Going back to this is really a community in a way, and I think that's what we miss. I have this conversation with Dario, my friend, and we talked about that a lot too. Trying to integrate ourselves and or it's finding that difficulty because I used to be that kind of guy that would talk to and I lost it and then I'm getting back to it again. Just talk to talk, get to know people, network. The other day I was talking to a German family. That was amazing. That was great. When you have certain things that are in common and you want to share that with such joy, then they start giving, you give and they take and then they give and then you take. So this was an amazing experience, and I think because I'm going back to trying to learn German because I follow Bayern. That's my team. Mia San Mia. Hope they do great in the Champions in the Bundesliga. Uh, but getting connected with them, that was amazing. That was great. That was beautiful, and I think many of us who have left LDM kind of miss that because we um, I think for me at least, I was scared of finding because I'm like, this is a lie. So I saw everything in negative. I'm like, there's nothing good. Nada hay bueno en mí, como dice una alabanza. Or in this world. But there is. There is. You have to find it. You have to ask yourself the right questions like, is this a place where I can find these certain people? And once you ask yourself honestly that question and can also be honest about the answer, not only asking a question like that, but being honest about that answer, then you'll most likely know it's a yes or a no, right? So it's like, all right, I can find it here, or I cannot. That. And sometimes you have to put yourself out there and be like, oh, okay. Because we have an advantage. We actually have an advantage. We know what a toxic relationship is. Um, I know I was at fault for being, using that toxicity subconsciously in a lot of things. I look back and I'm like, I retrace my steps because I'm trying to figure out my past to work on my present so I can have a better future. That's how I see it. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's like, okay, here are a lot of bad tendencies that I got from LDM that have trickled down and kind of I've allowed myself to use me. But at the same time, I'm like also finding ways where I can, and my journey is to do it better. It sucks hurting people. It sucks being hurt too, but live and learn, and that's where I'm like, all right, going back to it. And I think it's necessary to put yourself out there in a communities and be responsible again. For me, I'm talking like I'm talking to myself to y'all, because it's the way I like to do things is being honest to myself. Like, do I want to do this? Yes. Do I want to do that? No. Okay, cool. I do it or I don't. But I also like want to kind of dissect, why did I say no? Why did I say yes? Um, can I prevent it from happening again? Or can I get it again? Depending on what the situation is. And one of the things that I think I failed at was thinking freedom means do anything. But I'll give you an example. Like, if you're fucking around um, and thinking you're free to do that, uh, are you really, like, to actually have intercourse? Am I really free to do that, or have I just become a slave to lust? Because you got to ask that question. It's like, oh, that changes things now. Rephrasing a question, like, yeah, you're free. Am I free from that, or am I a slave to it? Because I've, people would think when I started this fitness journey too, trying to get into that, trying to progress. Um, you discipline yourself, so people like to label it as a slave, but I'm like, but at the end of the day, the results are what speaks louder, and you become a better, you feel better, and it helps. It's a lot of good benefits, but you have to restrict yourself because now you're disciplined to do certain things, and that's what it is. I think it's discipline, uh, or else you become a slave to something, thinking it's freedom. It's being liberally who you want to be, being quote unquote free. It's there's so much more depth into meaning and behind words, I believe. And freedom is one that I currently can easily fluctuate and be like, nah, that's not freedom. That's you're a slave to this. You're a slave to pride. You're a slave to lust. You're a slave to. There are consequences to these down the line. Um, and that's me right now. I think that's about it. I was thinking just 45 minutes. I started at 8:15, but then there was a little bit of traffic here in Florida. Uh, Start at 8:30. I guess y'all can start standing up and passing and giving ofrenda de una vez. Pueden empezar a dar sus ofrendas. I'm kidding. Uh, it, I like to joke around like that. Yeah, how do I? This is still new to me doing live. I don't do this often, and I'm thinking, should I continue doing this? I, cause yeah, I'm working. I'm working a lot. I'm like, I don't have time sometimes, but I do have these thoughts that I'm like, maybe I want to say it out loud. Do I want to say it in a live stream? Do I want to take my time and try to edit certain things? And I think I have that capacity. I think we all have. I'm just lazy sometimes. Uh, I think that's it. We talked about choir, cults, community, and I think those are the things that LDM did such a good job that now I'm looking at the elephant, at the larger picture, because I've talked to some guys. I'm like, some of my friends back home, back in Atlanta, who are also part of church, and we talk about choir because that was like our biggest common denominator in that aspect. It's like, God, these songs were beautiful. I'm still guilty of listening to certain songs. Guilty. I don't even see it as guilt because it's what called my attention were certain things, um, and we talked about how, like, man, you remember when we did these trips to go and sing for that? I'm like, yeah, those were beautiful moments. If we can do that again, but instead of redirecting it to the election, you do it to God, right? You find, you ask yourself those questions. You try to find, um, I don't know, a good community. I think that's how people have to people with people. So yeah, this is where I'm at, and I'm curious about y'all. And it's not just me. I know it's me. Some of y'all, I remember having some conversation when I first left LDM, with some of you, I was completely fucking lost. I'm like, oh, I could feel like I could almost presentaba algo cuando me salí y tenía esas dudas y preguntas like, how do I continue? There was like a huge fear I had, and some of y'all were like, it's gonna be all right, and I appreciate that. So I'm curious, we're in different parts of our journey. Uh, how are y'all? Where are y'all at right now? You know, I'm asking rhetorically too, but this is my experiences, and it's crazy to think that it's been all this and then this all at the same time. Um, but I am finding joy again in responsibility, because that was like the root of the things I did back in church. It was like, oh, you did this not only because you loved singing, but to have people kind of like um, rely on you in some things, and you try your best to. It's nice when everybody is around and doing their best. When I had this conversation with a friend right before I went back down here, we talked about that one day I was with choir. I was in choir. I was director, and we were finishing our choir study, and I'm like, all right, we're good, we're done. Um, and everybody, and I still hold this to my heart. Even when I was explaining it to my friend, I was like, damn, this one got to me. Um, it was like an hour and 15 minutes of choir, and at the end, I'm like, oh, okay, we're done. We can pack our things and head out, do our prayer. And they all said, they're like, no, can we continue? Like, I've never been in the only time I can remember doing that was back in Guadalajara, I want to say. Yeah, because I was like, do you know, can we actually try and get these songs? Because it was just a pride to do your best and sing with a good group of people. Like, let's keep going, especially when you're with a group of cool people, a group of good friends. Uh, you know, and seeing that, but coming from, like, man, I did something. We're doing something good. I don't like to see myself as a good director. I think I was a good manager. I was able to use everybody's skills. It was like, oh, you got this gift. You got to use this, girl. Damn, boy, why don't you do that? Everybody had their gifts. We all have our gifts. We all have something we can do. We're all useful. We have at least one good thing. And if we maximize that, and we talked about that, because I was explaining to him, that day, I was like, and how I operated. Because initially, when I wanted to be when they put me in charge, I was put in charge. I didn't want this. Did not want to be choir director, but I also knew no one else could do it. I'm like, I guess I could, try. And I went from not being able to move my hands and give them a good time to, like, well, the other side. And uh and to see that again, and to see where it took me, and being told, like, you're in charge of the youth. They divided our choir into coro de jóvenes y coro grandes. And I remember I was like, fuck, I got the youth. I'm like, the better voices are in los casados. It's just like, I could do so much more with the casados. That was my thought. And with the kids, the jóvenes, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a struggle. But no, and it's something I come to realize too, in the work environment, when people who are willing to learn, and you have a good environment, man, so many things can be accomplished, and there's a heart, a passion behind it. And that's something I learned and missed from, was that choir with the holiness, and the ability to create like magic. It was, or the spirit of God using that. I like to use magic as a good metaphor, in my opinion. Um, and I told them, I'm like, we were just, I think I wasn't so much a good choir director. I was like a good manager. Putting these voices, and like, hey, you could do that, you do that, and we created so many good moments that it came to the point, like, no, we don't want to leave. And so I have, for those that are still in, and now I'm talking directly to the people, if they see it, those that see it from Atlanta, from choir, even the other people that I met across different parts of the world. Guadalajara, Texas was another big one. Um, there were fucking beautiful moments, and in Atlanta, that was great. So I'm like, it was responsibility. It was that helping out the kids at the time when I was an interpreter, how giving them, like, I wanted everyone to feel what I felt. I want everyone to feel what he was saying when I was an interpreter. Nathan out here saying all these things. And I'm like, I gotta not only say those things, but also exchange that emotion. I'm like, y'all better feel what he's feeling, and what I'm feeling right now. I need y'all to feel that. So I got into it, and it was great. They call that collective effervescence, right? There's a term for that, and it's still, why don't we redirect it to something even, way better than the election? And it can be done. It has been done, right? Um, so, well, I was talking to the Atlanta choir, my ex Atlanta choir. I say it is mine. It was ours. It was beautiful. It was nice. And that's a community, you know, when you find that. And we talked about that. He was trying to get me back in church. I could tell he was trying to get me back in church. He's like, dude, I don't believe, but, uh, and there's a lot of y'all. There's a lot of y'all. I'm starting to notice there's a lot of y'all who are in church but don't believe, but are part of the community. And I have my respect. I respect that. Um, I can't change that. You can't change that. I respect that because you understand to a degree. Because my biggest thing is like, one day, what if God allows me to have kids? I'm like, I don't want to and tell them that this guy is a better father than I am, even though I'm trying to be there. That's hypothetically because I don't have a fucking kid. Y'all do, some of y'all, but that's the thought process. But for those that have stayed, because of the community, that there's a but doing your own thing, and it's disrupt in its own way. It's disrupting. Good Lord, I can't talk right now. LDM and their economical situation. Um, but it's we want such a drastic change that that's almost revolutionary. That's probably not the best way to go. Everyone does their own thing, um, and those that have stayed but have done less, given less. Props to y'all, but there is a beauty in that community, and I know he was trying to convince me to come back. I could tell because even he missed. I've had people come up to me when I met people from Atlanta in different stores and restaurants. They still tell me they miss the choir, they miss those moments, and I do miss that too. But I can't come back. I cannot until the election is changed for me. Obviously that's not gonna fucking change. Uh, that's how, yeah, that's yeah, found your bread and wine. LDM, this cult found their bread and wine. And it's definitely tanking, but that's their bread and wine, right? Their bread and butter is the election, and I can't do that. I can't do that for future me, for hopefully future little me's and all that good shit, right? Um, but and it's that reason why I am in a search for a community, or communities too, different. I think it doesn't have to be stuck to one thing, but there's a beauty in it to helping others. What did John F. K. say? Uh, Rather than asking what the country does for you, you gotta ask yourself what you do for the country, right? Uh, so it was the same process in LDM. It's the same process in a lot of spots. I mean, you find that, and you could do so many wonderful things. I'm seeing it. I'm starting to see it now. I'm like, here in work, here another place. I'm like, here it is. It's starting to come. I'm finally turning to the voice of God behind me. I know I'm doing it like this because I'm prideful. Soy terco, God's right here, and I'm like, huh? Who's that? I'm hearing voices, right? It's like, nah, it's God. Uh, he's like, kind of like the 99th. Era cien ovejas. And I'm like, oh man, he's rescuing this dude now. But it's a different. It's not going back to LDM. That's the trick too. That's the cycle. You think you go back, but can you avoid that? Can you actually go to something better? Um, that's the $1 million question. And now I'm like, all right, God, I what you got cooked for me? Just rely on that plan. And I'm seeing these things. I can't even deny this. It's all coming along. So it's all God. So I gotta thank Him. So anyway, I think that's about it. I'm just chit chattering now, talking too much. So if y'all have any other questions, this is it. This is the last. Here's a Q&A. The last 5 minutes. I got what 55 minutes and 47 seconds going on until I hit the 60, or before, right? Questions, comments. I do want to say hi to all y'all that are watching. All three. It's fluctuated here currently at three. Los dos tres congregados. Do y'all feel the Spirit of God? Uh, God, that's not what LDM used to say, right? It's like, puede sentir la voz de la elección a través de sus corazones. Uh, so if not, say something, forever hold your peace, as they say. We have just a few minutes. I'll keep rambling. Um, I really don't want to. I'm towards the end. Did another 12-hour shift, and here I am talking to this community. We have something connected. We can say something and we instantly know what we're talking about. You can remedar voz, reference a canto, do so. You remember this? It's like it's a click. We're far, but we make that. There's something there. It's something because we had that shared experience coming from that place. Good. Lord, here I am. Forgot about speaking in Spanish. Ay, disculpa. Preguntas, comentarios. I'm more English. I'm sorry. Es más fácil para mí para hablar en inglés que en español. Me fluye más fácil así en inglés. So sorry. I know I'm looking back and forth with the chat. Si tienen preguntas, comentarios, mando mis saludos a todos. Osculo Santo. As he would say, I found that cringy. I was like, bro, that's kind of. There was a way Sam did it that was maybe it was nostalgia, but you could tell Nathan was just a replica of someone. He couldn't do it. He couldn't hold his own. He couldn't hold his own. That motherfucker could not hold his own. He couldn't, he fucked it up. He fucked it up for y'all. LDM, you blame Nason. He fucked it up for y'all. Lo arruinó. Nason arruinó su fiesta. Yeah, had it good. Sammy had it. He had figured it out. Smart guy. He had figured that shit out, and Nason comes along, and receives it like a spoiled kid and thinks he could do better. Tries to put it. He has his own daddy issues. Nah. He got over his head, and it's just like, bro, you like I could have done a better job. Like but the ego, it's like, damn, this guy really just, it's almost like looking at a business model. I'm like, damn, you had it good and you failed it. You fucked it up. You fucked it up, bro. So, preguntas, comentarios. We are on now at the last minute. I'm saying once we hit 60, unless we have something going on, I'm out of here. Could probably do that. Yeah, we're on our last minute. I guess I can say my goodbyes now. Mis despedidas. Más allá. No, what was my favorite canto de despedida? Del Celeste País. Beautiful memories. Nos veremos. That's another good one. For me, Dormir were just my favorite songs because it was hope. It wasn't like a bad thing for me. It was like, there's something better there. And I've come back to it, and I believe in that now. Believing in that now. It's hope. We need hope. Generally, we need hope and work and discipline on our own. Like, you can't just rely on hope. Obviously, you gotta do your thing. I think. Pero bueno, eso es todo. I know some of y'all have your own YouTube channels. I don't follow y'all like that. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, but sorry. But I, I think it's time that we can talk. There's certain things I see some things I have seen some videos from certain people, their channels. Um, and I have my own way. I see it's a little different because I don't really talk shit like that. Remedo aquí, remedo allá, pero fuera de ahí no hablo así tan mal de la iglesia. Veo lo bueno y veo lo malo. Me gusta hablar de lo bueno más, y sacar lo bueno de ahí porque hay cosas que uno puede aprender del pasado y mejorarse. Siempre um, hay lugar para mejorarse. I do really believe that. So, yeah, eso es todo. Os deseo que la paz de Dios. Until next time, let me know if y'all want. I'm still not sure. I think I'll do live streams. Maybe I'll do live streams. Just because I don't have time to even, do what I gotta do here working out of town. Maybe the next time y'all see me, I'm in the next town, up north in the cold. Good Lord, close by Connecticut. But until then, y'all take care. Be safe. All of y'all, God bless. I'll see y'all next time. And I think I'll have to integrate myself with some of y'all. Talk about, there's a lot that we have as individuals and as a collective. Who knows where that can go, right? So, till next time, peace.